Benjamin Nygren. I thought he was brilliant yesterday. I thought it was arguably his best performance in a Celtic shirt. I actually think that Kasper, who it sounds weird saying this about a guy who scored 20 goals 21 goals last season, but Kasper, who is almost bringing the best out of him, if that makes sense. But you've got Camilo Durán there as well. What did you make of his performance on the right hand side? And when everyone's fit, how do you fit the three of them in? Because it's been mentioned a few times by Martin O'Neill, by Sean Maloney, that Durán probably more suited to playing centrally. So where does that leave Nygren?
It's a good question, Dan. It's probably a welcome headache for Martin O'Neill as well, because I think he was starved of any real quality options last season. I mean, you look at the upgrades up front from Thomas Chavangara and Junior Adamu to Kasper Hogh and
It's quite the jump.
Camilo Durán. It's quite the jump. So, as I say, this is what Celtic have been crying out for at least the last 18 months since Kyogo left. But look, it's a headache. I thought Durán was a bit disappointing on Monday night. I don't, we kind of touched on it in the last episode, but I think he lacked a bit of confidence, a bit of swagger to get past these players and be a bit more direct. But yesterday, I thought he really relished the occasion. Obviously, Kasper Hogh will dominate the headlines, and rightly so with his hat-trick, but I thought Durán was unlucky not to score. You can tell he's really desperate to get off the mark. He smashed the crossbar in the second half with a terrific left-footed curling effort just in front of the Celtic fans. But he also produced a fantastic assist for Kasper Hogh, I think, to complete his hat-trick. Again, unmarked at the back post. I watched Durán, so I thought, what's he going to do here? Is he going to try and be selfish and go for goal himself, or is he going to try and pick out Kasper Hogh, who was watching, just looking at the back post, and he did it, and it totally evaded the keeper as well. It was an absolutely perfect cross, and obviously Hogh made no mistake. So I think, he's versatile, which is probably part of the reason why Celtic signed him. I think clearly he was identified as a replacement for Diaz Almeida, so they've been watching the Camilo Durán for quite some time, and he's very much light for light in terms of his versatility. He can play up front or he can play it wide. He can get bundles of pace. He's obviously a high energy player, relentless pressing, not quite in the mould of Diaz Almeida, who's a one-off phenomenon in that regard, but he is similar in some aspects, and I think technically he's so gifted as well. Some of his touches, we're talking about Kasper Hogh, but some of Camilo Durán's touches yesterday as well were exquisite. And I was just delighted for him that he managed to get a goal contribution as well, because you could tell he was a wee bit gutty when he gets subbed off the park that he didn't manage to get in the score sheet. But look, just like Kasper Hogh on Monday, I think the goals they'll definitely flow. He scored 3 and 3 in pre-season, so I don't think Camilo Durán's got anything to worry about. The big question is, as you say, Dan, is how do Celtic fit all the best players in the team? Yeah. And that might mean a tweak in the system. I think obviously Martin O'Neill, ideally, he's been on record, as you say, Dan, he wants to play Durán and Hogh up front together. But then would that mean reverting to a 3-5-2 formation, which obviously Wilfred Nancy deployed last year? Or would it mean going 4-4-2 and you maybe have Hassan on the right, potentially Jota when he comes back in the next couple of months in the left? I mean, that'd be a frightening prospect of having those four up front. So I don't know. The problem is that not the problem. It's the thing is Celtic have got options now, and that's what they've badly missed. They were relying on Kelechi and Nacho coming off the bench to save the day last season, and they were hanging the hat in Diaz Almeida producing a moment of magic. But now they've got players pretty much all over the park where they can step up and make a difference. And as I say, I think the only thing is strength and depth. They need to get more players like that in the door, just to make sure they can properly compete across all 4 competitions this season.
What's your gut feeling? Do you think that Martin O'Neill will experiment maybe with it? I mean, we obviously know his first stint, the 3-5-2, was massively successful. Do you think he will try something like that?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, for me, I still think Durán, even if they stick with the 4-3-3, I still think Durán can almost play as a second striker anyway, because if a lot of your play is coming from the left-hand side, say, whether that's from Yang or Jota or whoever, or even Kieran Tierney, Durán can still drift in and make a goal scoring position for himself in the box and almost become that second striker. So he still drift in maybe 10 yards and play in that role. But obviously there's a demand in him obviously to play as a wide man and clearly, you know, produce service for Kasper Hogh in the middle as well. So look, ideally I think Camilo Durán would come in expecting to be deployed through the middle, and I think in the short to medium term he's just going to have to settle for being out wide in a minute. But I think maybe, you know, maybe from October onwards, once Celtic get a settled team, perhaps they've got they've built up a rhythm and consistency, then Martin might be tempted to juggle the system. Obviously, there's going to be a heavy load of games this season as well, Dan. So you will be, Martin. That's why I make the point about strength and depth. Martin will rotate the squad, so Andy will look to spring a few surprises here and then to shake things up. So I've no doubt there will be an opportunity for Durán and Hogh to play up front together. But I think it's all just dependent on the incomes. That's the thing.
Another guy, Ryan, that I wanted to share some praise on was Arne Engels, because I don't know about people you talk to, but he seems to kind of divide the Celtic support a lot. I know it's probably due to the fact that he's got the big transfer fee. He was the record signing before Hogh came in. But I thought he was outstanding yesterday. He was all over the place. He obviously set up the first goal with a brilliant cross. I think if Celtic do lose him, as I think they probably expect to, he's going to be so difficult to replace. Like, just his legs, his athleticism, his deliveries. Honestly, I think people are maybe underestimating a little bit the impact he has on the Celtic starting 11 when he plays.
Yeah, I mean, he's, like you said, I never really quite understood why he's been such a polarising figure amongst the kind of Celtic fan base. Some of his performances here and there have been hit and miss, but I think you're guaranteed a 7 out of 10 performance from Engels pretty much every week. Thought he was quite his best on Monday night, but my God, he was excellent on Sunday just there. And like you say, I think that was one of his top performances in the Celtic jersey. I know I had a chat with Sean Maloney before the game as well, and he made it clear he really wanted to play. So I don't know, I'm a bit wary of that one, where that could potentially be his farewell appearance. If it was, what a way to sign out. He signed out with a bang, but ideally, Celtic really would like to keep Engels and Johnston for the Champions League playoffs, because replacing that quality for such a game of such a huge magnitude is not going to be easy. And as I say, whoever comes in, these guys need to hit the ground running as well. So Engels, I think he'll be sorely missed from that Celtic midfield when the time comes and when he does eventually move on. And look, I think it makes sense for him to move on at some point in this summer, because he's in the final 2 years of his contract, and his value is only going to depreciate from basically here on in.